Appendix 1. Bootstrap Reasoning. In an entirely different context than epistemology, Heller has raised a very pertinent point with respect of the problem of definition. Quote, barring pathological complications such as the loss of the sense of taste, anyone who has ever tasted strawberry recognizes its characteristic flavor and would never confuse it, say, with vanilla or chocolate or lemon. Yet no one has ever succeeded in defining the taste of strawberry in a useful way, one subject to the restriction indicated. End quote. In other words, proof is impossible unless a prior knowledge experience context exists with so simple a thing as the taste of strawberries. It is then not so much a proof as a development of circular reasoning. We can then define the taste of strawberries only to someone who has tasted strawberries and knows what they are like. By appealing to that taste of strawberries, we can raise questions about artificial strawberry flavorings, and we can judge that this particular flavoring comes closer to the authentic strawberry flavor than another. Knowledge rests on knowledge. The idea that man can begin with total ignorance and work his way to knowledge has serious problems. The correlation, the awareness of structure and parallels, and the ability to utilize data which constitute learning rest on prior knowledge. None of us is born into ignorance. Even as newborn babes, we enter into a language and knowledge continuum and a total world of people and history which sets a pattern upon us before we are aware that such things exist. When a man tries to begin, as philosophy has since Descartes, entirely devoid of all knowledge and with nothing save existence, the existence of the subjective individual, the consequence is cultural loss. Knowledge disappears, and ignorance prevails. If there is no strawberry flavor until we prove that there is and define what it is, and if we must do this before we acknowledge the existence of either strawberries or a strawberry flavor, we get nowhere. The impasse of modern philosophy is a product of its idea of beginning with bare subjective existence and building outward from there. Instead, existence itself becomes dubious. Nothing is known unless there is first the presupposition of knowledge, and on no other ground is such a presupposition possible than the Christian theistic one. We know a real world because we believe by faith that God created it. From our first breath as a babe, we assume the reality of that world and the trustworthiness of our knowledge and experience. When the topic of the fall develops in us, we deny that knowledge because it points to God and the revelation the fall challenges. As a result, the fallen man as philosopher must challenge and question the knowledge you took for granted as a child. On the other hand, covenant man realizes progressively how that world of knowledge rests on God. Quote, through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Hebrews 11:3. Because man is created in God's image, even though that image is under the effects of the fall, the fact remains that God's image, as does all his creation, witnesses to God. As St. Paul declared, quote, that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them. End quote. Romans 1:19. In the Berkeley version, this reads, quote, whatever can be known regarding God is evident to them, for God has shown it to them. End quote. Man, created in the image of God, is able to have knowledge because he is born into a world of meaning, has himself a meaning. He signifies something in terms of God's purpose and decree. He is born into a context of knowledge as a central strand therein, and not even the baleful influence of sin can entirely destroy that context for him. The inescapable knowledge of God and the unity of the creation under God is evident to man, however much he suppresses it because of his unrighteousness. Romans 1:18 and 19. The English version of 1880 for Romans 1:8-10 reads, quote, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold down the truth in unrighteousness, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God manifested it to them. End quote. Definition in a world of brute factuality is an impossibility. There is no common universe for factuality, no eternal decree as the frame of reference, and no ground whatsoever for any analogy. Each brute fact is its own universe and its own meaning. It cannot be defined or described by the meaning or language of any other fact without an implicit denial of the idea of brute factuality. Definition implies an eternal decree. Without that eternal decree and with only brute factuality, knowledge is impossible. Definition and knowledge in God's world are possible because both particularity and universality exist. All things are part of a seamless garment as a result of God's eternal decree of predestination. All things point to all things else as an aspect of their context and meaning. At the same time, each fact has its specific and unique meaning as a particular and cannot be reduced to a formless drop in a notion of nothingness. Each fact has its particular place and meaning in God's sight, so that knowledge is assured by the reality of both particularity and universality. The kind of thinking done by philosophers from Descartes to the present in the modern tradition can be called bootstrap reasoning. No more than a man can raise himself off the ground by tugging at his bootstraps can a man, on the premise of autonomous reason, go beyond his own existence. Every attempt to reason apart from the presupposition of the triune God and his infallible word ends logically in bootstrap reasoning.